Why do you keep attracting toxic relationships? Have you ever found yourself asking, why do I keep ending up with toxic people? No matter how much you promise not to repeat the same mistakes, you somehow fall into another relationship that leaves you emotionally drained, confused, and heartbroken. You're not alone. Millions of people in the US and around the world experience this painful pattern, being drawn to partners who manipulate, criticize, or make you feel unworthy. But what if the reason isn't just bad luck or poor judgment? This article dives deep into the hidden psychological reasons behind your attraction to toxic people, through the lens of shadow work, a powerful inner healing practice rooted in Jungian psychology. Shadow work helps you uncover the unconscious parts of yourself, the suppressed emotions, childhood wounds, and forgotten beliefs, that silently influence your choices in love. If you're tired of dating narcissists, fixers, or emotionally unavailable partners, it's time to look within. Because until you heal what's hiding in the shadows, you'll keep repeating the cycle. Let's explore what shadow work is, and why it may hold the key to breaking free from toxic relationships for good. Understanding toxic people and unhealthy relationship patterns. Before you can heal from toxic relationships, you need to clearly understand what you're actually dealing with. The term toxic gets thrown around a lot, but what does it truly mean when applied to people and relationships? What are toxic people? Toxic people are individuals whose behaviors consistently cause emotional harm to others. They may not always be aware of it, and they're not always intentionally cruel. In fact, many toxic people appear charming, passionate, and even deeply caring at first. That's part of what makes them so dangerous. Toxic behavior often includes manipulation, using guilt, fear, or lies to control you. Gaslighting, making you doubt your reality or memory. Criticism and blame, constantly pointing out your flaws, never taking responsibility. Emotional unavailability, keeping you at a distance, then blaming you for needing connection. Jealousy and control, treating you like a possession, not a partner. Not all toxic individuals are the same. Some are narcissistic, others are passive-aggressive, and some are emotionally wounded themselves. But the impact is similar. They leave you feeling confused, exhausted, and small. Signs you're in a toxic relationship. How do you know if a relationship is toxic? Sometimes it's obvious, other times, it creeps in slowly. Look out for these red flags. You walk on eggshells, afraid to upset them. You feel drained after spending time together. Your needs are constantly dismissed or minimized. You keep trying to fix the relationship, but nothing changes. They apologize but never change. You feel more anxious than happy. Toxic relationships often follow a cycle: idealization, devaluation, and discard. It starts with intense love bombing, then slowly shifts into criticism and control. When you protest or pull away, they may love you again, just enough to keep you hooked. Why you stay, even when you know it's bad. This is one of the hardest truths to face. Even when you know someone is bad for you, it can still be incredibly hard to walk away. Why? Here are a few psychological reasons. Fear of being alone. Toxic relationships can make you feel worthless, making the idea of solitude unbearable. Trauma bonding. Intense ups and downs in toxic dynamics create addictive emotional highs and lows, similar to substance abuse. Low self-worth. If you grew up feeling not enough, you may unconsciously believe this is what you deserve. Hope for change. You might believe that if you love them enough, they'll finally treat you right. Toxic people often exploit these vulnerabilities. They know how to draw you back in when you're ready to leave. That's why it's not weakness to stay, it's conditioning. Toxic doesn't always mean evil. It's important to say this: not all toxic people are villains. Many have unresolved trauma, just like you. They may be repeating patterns from their own upbringing. Understanding this doesn't excuse the harm, but it can help you detach emotionally and start healing without bitterness. What matters most is how their behavior affects your mental health. If someone makes you question your worth, your reality, or your right to be safe and loved, they're not right for you. What is shadow work, and why it holds the key to breaking toxic patterns? By now, you may be wondering, why do I keep attracting the same kind of toxic partners, even when I try not to? The answer may lie in a powerful, often overlooked concept in psychology: shadow work. What is shadow work? Shadow work is the process of exploring the hidden parts of your psyche, the emotions, desires, memories, and traits you've rejected, denied, or buried deep inside. These parts are collectively known as the shadow self. The concept was developed by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, who believed that every human being has a shadow, the unconscious mind made up of everything we suppress, because it's painful, socially unacceptable, or doesn't align with who we think we should be. Your shadow might include feelings of shame or unworthiness, repressed anger, jealousy, or fear, childhood wounds and unmet emotional needs, parts of your personality you've been told to hide, like being too sensitive or too much. These hidden parts don't disappear, they drive your behavior from beneath the surface. And when they go unexamined, they can lead you into repeated cycles of emotional pain, especially in relationships. How shadow work relates to toxic relationships. Here's the big realization: you don't attract toxic people by accident. On a subconscious level, your shadow may be seeking out familiar emotional experiences from your past, even if they were painful. For example, if you grew up feeling ignored, you may be drawn to emotionally unavailable partners. If you were told to earn love through achievement or perfection, you may seek out partners who make you constantly prove yourself. If you were punished for setting boundaries, you may attract people who disrespect them. Shadow work helps you uncover these deep emotional imprints, and more importantly, heal them. Shadow work is not about blame, it's about empowerment. Let's be clear, doing shadow work is not about blaming yourself for being in toxic relationships. It's about taking responsibility for your healing so you can break the unconscious patterns that keep you stuck. When you confront your shadow, you begin to understand why certain people feel like home even when they hurt you. Recognize your emotional triggers and where they come from. Set boundaries without guilt. Reclaim the parts of you that were lost, shamed, or silenced. In short, shadow work empowers you to choose partners and friendships, jobs, environments that actually honor your worth. Examples of shadow work in practice. Shadow work is not a one-time activity, it's a lifelong relationship with your inner world. Here are a few ways it might show up in your healing journey. 1. Emotional triggers as clues. Whenever someone makes you feel disproportionately angry, hurt, or scared, ask yourself, what part of me is being activated right now? That reaction may be tied to an old wound that still needs attention. 2. Projection awareness. Sometimes we project our own shadow traits onto others. If you constantly attract selfish or aggressive partners, ask, am I denying my own assertiveness or self-protection instincts? 3. Reparenting your inner child. Shadow work often involves connecting with your inner child, the younger version of you that still longs to be seen, heard, and loved. You begin giving yourself the care and validation you didn't receive. 4. Journal prompts and reflection. Writing is a powerful tool for shadow work. Ask questions like, what qualities do I dislike in others, and do I fear them in myself? What emotions do I avoid or suppress? What messages about love did I learn growing up? The challenge of facing your shadow. Let's be honest, shadow work is not comfortable. It forces you to confront truths you may have spent years avoiding. You might feel guilt, sadness, or anger. But here's the paradox: true freedom begins where discomfort ends. By looking at the shadow instead of running from it, you stop living on autopilot. You stop blaming external forces and start reclaiming your power. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. What happens when you begin shadow work? You stop chasing people who don't choose you. You stop justifying red flags as potential. You stop confusing intensity with love. You start making decisions that align with your healed self, not your wounded one. It's not magic. It's inner work. But the impact on your life, and your relationships, can be truly transformative. Why you're attracted to toxic people, even when you know they're bad for you? It's a question that haunts so many of us. Why am I constantly attracted to people who hurt me? Even when you know someone is emotionally unavailable, manipulative, or disrespectful, something deep inside you still wants them. You feel drawn to their intensity, their attention, their presence, only to end up hurt, confused, or emotionally wrecked. Again, this isn't weakness. It's not stupidity. It's wiring, deep, emotional wiring shaped by your past experiences, childhood wounds, and what's buried in your shadow self. Let's explore why toxic people feel so magnetic, and why healing your shadow is the key to breaking this cycle. 1. You're attracted to what feels familiar, not what's healthy. One of the most powerful insights from shadow work is this. You don't always attract what you want, you attract what feels familiar. The brain loves familiarity, even when it's painful. If chaos, emotional unavailability, or conditional love were part of your upbringing, those patterns may now feel like home. So, when you meet someone emotionally inconsistent, part of you lights up. Not because it's good, but because it's known. It mirrors something from childhood, the emotionally distant parent, the love you had to fight for, the approval you never fully received. The inner child inside you still longs to get it right this time. Subconsciously, you might think, maybe if I can get this person to love me, I'll finally feel whole. That's not love. That's a reenactment. 2. You're trying to heal the past through the present. Psychologists call this repetition compulsion, the unconscious urge to recreate painful situations from the past, in hopes of changing the outcome. You might find yourself falling for emotionally unavailable people, because you're trying to earn their love the way you couldn't with a parent. Staying with someone who criticizes you, because you were raised in an environment where love came with judgment. Attracted to people who need fixing, because fixing them gives you purpose and worth. In each case, your subconscious isn't chasing romance. It's chasing resolution. The problem? Toxic partners don't heal the wound. They deepen it. 3. Your shadow is drawn to their shadow. Toxic attraction often happens when two people's unhealed parts recognize each other. For example, if your shadow contains deep shame or unworthiness, you might be attracted to someone who reinforces those feelings. If you've repressed your anger or power, you may be drawn to a controlling or dominating person, someone who embodies what you've denied in yourself. If you grew up needing to be the caretaker, you might be drawn to broken people you feel responsible for. On the surface, this looks like chemistry. But it's really your shadow saying, this dynamic is familiar. I know how to survive here. Until you bring those shadows to light, you'll keep confusing pain with passion. 4. Trauma bonding, the hidden addiction. One of the most dangerous dynamics in toxic relationships is called trauma bonding. Trauma bonding occurs when cycles of abuse are mixed with intermittent reward, affection, apologies, brief moments of love. This push-pull dynamic creates intense emotional dependency, much like addiction. You start craving the high of their approval, even after enduring their disrespect. You chase the version of them that showed up in the beginning, hoping they'll come back. The more they hurt you, the more you hope you can win them over. This is not love. It's emotional conditioning, and your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. Shadow work helps you understand why your body and mind are wired this way, and how to reset your patterns through awareness and healing. 5. You confuse intensity with love. Toxic relationships often feel exciting, dramatic highs and lows, passionate arguments, deep soul connections. But intensity is not intimacy. And chaos is not love. When your shadow is full of unmet needs, abandonment wounds, or inner chaos, emotional intensity can feel like proof of love. But real love feels safe, calm, consistent. And when you haven't healed, safety can feel boring. That's why healthy people may feel dull or not your type. Your shadow isn't used to being respected or emotionally nourished. Healing helps you rewrite that story. 6. You haven't fully reclaimed your worth. Ultimately, toxic attraction comes down to self-worth. If you don't believe you're worthy of unconditional love, you'll keep choosing partners who reflect that belief. Your shadow may whisper things like, I'm not lovable unless I give everything. I have to prove I'm worthy of staying. It's normal to be hurt, at least they're still here. These beliefs were likely formed long ago, often in childhood. And until they're examined, you'll keep choosing relationships that feel like punishment, not partnership. Shadow work allows you to see these inner scripts and consciously rewrite them. So what can you do about it? Here's the good news: awareness is the first step toward healing. You can start asking powerful questions like, what am I actually seeking in toxic people? What do they reflect about how I view myself? What part of me is still trying to be loved through pain? What does real, healthy love look like, and am I ready to receive it? As you do shadow work, you'll begin to break old trauma bonds. Feel safe with emotional stability. Build relationships rooted in mutual respect, not performance or pain. It takes time. It takes courage. But it's possible. How to break the toxic relationship cycle, step-by-step healing. If you're reading this, you've probably recognized a painful pattern: you keep attracting toxic people. Maybe the faces change, but the emotional damage feels the same: gaslighting, emotional neglect, manipulation, or codependency. The good news: once you bring your unconscious patterns into the light, you can break the cycle. You're not doomed to repeat your past. But true transformation requires awareness, emotional responsibility, and inner work. Here's how to start healing, from the inside out. 1. Recognize the pattern without shame. Before healing begins, you need to acknowledge the truth. You've been caught in a cycle, and that doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been surviving. This first step is powerful because it shifts your energy from self-blame to self-compassion. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" start asking, "What have I normalized that is actually harmful? When did I learn that love had to come with pain?" Patterns can't change if we keep justifying them or pretending they don't exist. Write down a list of your past relationships. Look for emotional similarities, even if the circumstances were different. What's the common emotional theme? 2. Identify your emotional triggers and shadow wounds. Most toxic attraction is rooted in unhealed emotional wounds, often formed in childhood. Shadow work helps you identify the specific parts of you that are calling in these relationships. Ask yourself, what behaviors trigger intense emotions in me? Abandonment, rejection, criticism. What qualities in toxic people am I secretly drawn to? What unmet needs from childhood am I still carrying into adult relationships? A helpful exercise. Write a letter to your inner child. Ask them what they needed that they didn't receive. You'll likely find that many of your adult relationship patterns mirror those unmet childhood needs. 3. Practice conscious shadow work. Shadow work isn't a trend, it's a deep, intentional process. Here are tools you can use. A. Journaling prompts. Try these prompts weekly. The part of me I'm most ashamed of is, I feel triggered when people. Love felt like underscore 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 growing up. What I fear people will discover about me is. This helps make the unconscious, conscious. B. Mirror work. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I see you. You are worthy of love without pain. You don't have to earn love anymore. At first it feels uncomfortable, that's the shadow resisting integration. Keep going. C. Guided meditation or inner child visualization. Picture your younger self, at age 5, 10, or even 15. Imagine hugging them. Tell them, I've got you now. You're safe. This begins the emotional reparenting your nervous system desperately needs. 4. Redefine love and safety. One of the biggest obstacles to healing is that healthy love might feel boring when you've only known chaos. It's time to reprogram your idea of love. Ask yourself, does love feel calm or anxiety-inducing? Do I associate love with peace or performance? Am I attracted to people who challenge me or soothe me? Healthy love looks like consistency, emotional availability, mutual respect, safety without having to earn it. Write your new definition of love and stick to it. especially when you feel tempted by intensity disguised as passion. 5. Set and enforce boundaries. Without boundaries, shadow wounds run the show. You end up saying yes when you mean no, tolerating behavior that drains you, and calling it love. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They keep the wrong energy out and the right energy in. Start practicing saying no without guilt. Taking space when you're overwhelmed. Leaving relationships where your needs aren't respected. You'll trigger people who benefit from your lack of boundaries, and that's a sign you're growing. 6. Surround yourself with safe people. Healing in isolation is hard. If your environment reinforces your old patterns, change becomes even harder. Seek supportive friends who reflect your growth. Therapists or coaches trained in trauma and attachment. Content and communities that reinforce your healing, not your wounding. You don't need a large circle. Just a few emotionally safe people can help rewire your nervous system. 7. Learn the power of pause before pursuit. Once you're deep into healing, attraction might still feel tricky. You'll meet someone, feel an intense spark, and wonder, is this love or a trauma bond? Pause. Ask. Am I drawn to this person out of excitement, or fear of being alone? Are they emotionally available, or mysterious and distant? Do I feel safe being myself with them? When in doubt, pause again. Toxic patterns thrive on impulse. Healing thrives on intention. 8. Be gentle with relapses. Healing isn't linear. You might fall back into an old pattern. You might text the ex. You might say yes to someone who triggers you. That's okay. Don't use a moment of regression as proof that you haven't changed. Instead, ask, what was I needing in that moment? How can I meet that need in a healthier way next time? Growth is about catching yourself sooner, not never making mistakes. You are worthy of a love that feels safe. Breaking toxic patterns doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means becoming aware of your triggers, your tendencies, your wounds, and choosing differently anyway. You're not here to earn love by suffering. You're here to love and be loved in peace. The next section will explore what healed, conscious relationships look like, and how you'll start to attract them once you embody your worth. The work you're doing now isn't just changing your future, it's healing your past. Healing is a journey, not a destination. If you've made it this far, you're already doing the most important part of healing, showing up for yourself. But here's what you need to know next. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a lifelong process. And that's okay. You may have moments of insight and breakthroughs, only to feel like you're back at square one a week later. You might feel empowered one day, and triggered the next. You may even catch yourself feeling attracted to someone toxic again and wonder, have I really healed at all? That's not failure. That's healing. Real growth happens in the small, unseen choices. Healing doesn't always look like walking away from someone toxic in a dramatic scene. Sometimes, it's saying no when you used to say yes out of fear. Pausing before texting someone you know isn't good for you. Allowing yourself to rest instead of overgiving to earn love. Choosing peace over emotional chaos, even when it feels unfamiliar. These moments matter more than you think. They build emotional resilience. They rewire your nervous system. They shift your sense of identity from the one who gets hurt to the one who protects and honors themselves. Healing is grief, growth, and grace. When you heal, you're not just learning new behaviors, you're mourning old versions of yourself. The part of you that thought love had to be painful. The child who didn't get what they needed. The past self who stayed in relationships out of survival. Give yourself space to grieve. And then, keep going. Shadow work, self-awareness, and emotional growth take grace. You won't always get it right, but you'll always get another chance. You're already becoming someone new. One day, without realizing it, you'll stop feeling drawn to chaos. Be turned off by red flags instead of intrigued. Crave emotional stability more than emotional thrill. Feel at peace being alone. because you're no longer abandoned inside. That's when you'll know the healing worked. Not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer willing to abandon yourself to feel loved. And that's the real win. You're not broken, you're becoming whole. If you've ever asked, why do I keep falling for toxic people, now you know, it's not weakness. It's not bad luck. It's a call from your shadow, an invitation to finally look inward, heal old wounds, and rewrite the story you've been living. This journey you're on isn't just about avoiding toxic partners. It's about coming home to yourself. Because the truth is, you were never broken. You were just conditioned to believe love had to hurt. Now, you're breaking that belief, one brave, conscious step at a time. The real victory is self-love. As you heal, you begin to choose peace over passion rooted in pain. Set boundaries without guilt. Recognize red flags before they become patterns. Feel safe in your own skin, even when you're alone. You stop chasing love that costs you your self-worth. You stop trying to prove you're lovable, and start knowing that you always were. That's the gift of shadow work. It helps you reclaim the parts of you that were hidden, rejected, or shamed, and welcome them back with compassion. This is your moment to choose differently. Every time you say, I deserve better, you create a new possibility. Every time you pause instead of pursue someone toxic, you break the cycle. Every time you sit with your feelings instead of running from them, you grow stronger. You're not just healing for yourself. You're healing for your future, your children, your relationships, and every version of you that once believed love meant pain. Ready to go deeper? Start here. If you're serious about healing and growth, here are your next steps. Start a shadow work journal. Reflect daily or weekly on emotional triggers, childhood wounds, and patterns you want to break. Explore inner child healing, reconnect with your younger self and meet their unmet needs. Work with a therapist or coach, especially someone trained in trauma, attachment theory, or Jungian psychology. Surround yourself with healing content, books, podcasts, YouTube channels, and communities that reflect the life you're building, not the pain you're leaving behind. And most importantly, keep going. Healing is not a destination. It's a way of living, with more intention, more awareness, and more love. You are worthy. You are enough. You are free. Toxic love may have written your past, but self-love gets to write your future. And from here forward, that future is yours to create, with clarity, courage, and compassion.